Welcome, dear listeners, to episode 221 of the Reformed Gamers, a show about theology, video games, and anything else we can think of. I'm one of your hosts, Logan. I'm joined, as always, by the handsome babyface man himself, Micah Hendrick. What's up, man? How's it going?
Hey, how you doing? I'm doing good. How you doing? Just hanging out, trying to stay cool in the summer. But yeah, how about you?
The same thing, man. Like, it's it's funny. I was listening to shout out to Retro Warriors. It's a podcast about retro gaming. One of the hosts over there was talking about how the houses in Texas, for some weird reason, are not built for heat. And it's weird because it's so sweltering hot here in Texas. And I just don't. He made some good points. I'm like, why aren't the houses better suited for the heat down here? It would make sense, but.
Yeah, I've got friends' ACs going out here in Columbus, and it's swelteringly hot. Obviously, it is every summer, but the room that I record in my house is the hottest room in the house, so it's always like kind of warm. I'm always speaking of like heat, sort of. And I got headphones on, so it doesn't help.
Sitting next to a PC that's just constantly getting hotter as you use it. And
summertime in Georgia is it's just not great.
Yep. I thought I would be super happy that summer's here, but now that I've dealt with the heat, I'm like, I'm ready for the fall. I'm ready for the winter and all that stuff, which is actually a pretty good segue into what we're talking about for this episode, which is the fall of gaming. Not necessarily gaming falling apart, but just the fall lineup of gaming, and kind of I'm going to take a look at the games that are coming out, if there's anything good that's coming out, get to some of our patrons picks, and then kind of go from there in this episode. So as always, if you want to talk about some of your favorite games that are coming out, Discord, Twitter, all those places where we're at, definitely go hit us up. Links will be in your show notes. A couple other things I do want to point out as far as links are concerned is to go over to our YouTube channel. Finally broke over 1,000 subscribers, and it just keeps going. And my review for Trails 3 is up, and then we're going to be working on some other videos that'll be coming up as well, so definitely go over there, hit subscribe, and check those videos out if you have not done so already. I'm trying to think if I'm
Logan. Has there been some controversy with this Trails video going on here?
Man, I wasn't gonna bring this up, right? I didn't want to give any attention to the anime profile pic people on Twitter, because it's like I just don't care what your opinions are. But some people, from the community were sharing the videos, right? Which I appreciate, share the videos out, share them to people who like them. But people apparently really did not like my thumbnails about me comparing the games to Persona, because heaven forbid I compare them to Persona, despite that's exactly how people said these games were. They're like, oh, dude, they're better than Persona. They're better than Final Fantasy. That's how people hooked me into playing them. But people did not like those thumbnails, and people had a lot of strong opinions. And I honestly just laughed at all of them. Like someone, there were some comments made about my beard. And I'm like, this is literally all I can grow. I'm trying my best, man. I haven't quite reached level like 10 of being reformed yet. So I can't get the full beard, I
mean, I think you're aware, but you touched on one of one of those fan bases.
Yeah.
That is just a little sensitive, they're sensitive about their persona. Well, and yeah, they came out in full force.
It was funny. I had to laugh a little bit because a lot of the people would talk about me, but not tag me in any of it, even though I was like going in and reacting to different tweets and laughing and retweeting some, because I'm like, this is all in good fun. I did appreciate one guy, I can't remember his name, but he changed one of my thumbnails to say, like, I think this is what his next thumbnail is going to be. And it just said F Persona with my goofy face on it. And I was like, I can't do that because of it being kind of a Christian podcast sort of thing. But like, I do love it because that's hilarious. But yeah, man. So now I'm just at this point where I'm like, I just got to go through and compare every JRPG to Persona in a video, and then slip in some like Knack, maybe some Gears of War, just to really agitate them a little bit, because I'm a high school teacher. I can take it as well as dish it back, but to the degree
you need to review the upcoming game. We'll get into it. The Diofield Chronicle, and be like, better than Final Fantasy Tactics.
Better than Final. There you go. I did tell one guy who was like, can someone please tell this guy to stop comparing things to Persona? And I was like, all right, my next video series will be comparing things to Final Fantasy. I got you, man. So, but for the most part, it was all in good fun. A lot of people were like, dude, this is great character growth in thumbnails, or like, like, why is this so true? Or, things like that. So for the most part, people were cool. But for some of those other people a little more rowdy, I'm like, you would think that you being a Trails fan, you would have to, you would understand that you take things in sequence and play the games in progression. You would think you would understand that in terms of my reviews, but clearly you didn't. You were too upset that I said the P word on YouTube. So it is what it is. But I mean, haters going to hate it. I tweeted this out. YouTube analytics for the channel have been the best they've ever been. So
yeah, I personally just had a lot of fun with that one. When I saw everyone going off on those thumbnails,
did you see him?
Yeah, no, I saw that. I was seeing some things. It was making me chuckle real good.
Man, so. It's wild, man. It's wild. But yeah, I wasn't going to bring it up because I don't want to give him any attention, but I guess here it is. So thank you all to
sorry,
getting the channel more stats and all that jazz, and just pushing the video in the YouTube algorithm. So yeah, there you go. Links to all that stuff will be in your show notes. That being said, as we kind of get into the episode, a little bit of a slow news cycle over the last couple of weeks here. It's been a while since we've recorded the show. Just to kind of let folks.
Weeks, yeah.
I was out on vacation visiting my folks, and so that kind of threw our schedule off a little bit and pushed some things back. But we're going to be getting back into the swing of things. But as awkward as it can be to come back into the cycle of things, I think Sony kind of understands where we're coming from a little bit, because we haven't heard much about God of War Ragnarok for a while, but then they just almost randomly tweeted out that God of War Ragnarok is coming November 9th of this year. Thankfully, it's coming this year. We were kind of worried there for a second.
Yeah.
But it was just a tweet and a CG video, and I'm like, this is a little weird. Did you feel like it was a little weird?
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're going for. Maybe they didn't have, the gameplay segment ready that they are going to show off before. I'm assuming they're going to show off before the release of the game. But they did want to get the date out there because it seemed like people were really clamoring for it and worrying. And I think they wanted to go ahead and cut off the fact that it isn't a 2023 game, which a lot of people were kind of thinking it might have been.
Yeah.
So it was funny because a lot of like the Snitch, for example, this really accurate leaker who's been leaking tons of stuff lately, 100% accurate, by the way, he was like, hey, something's happening on the 30th, talking about June 30th for God of War. And so everyone thought, okay, that's when it's happening. It apparently didn't happen on that date. Well, it definitely didn't happen. It apparently got delayed is what I was going to say. And yeah, they announced it like the following Tuesday, very unceremoniously, like you said, no state of play or anything like that. I don't know if it necessarily needed it. It's doing great traction, I think, as far as the numbers and stuff. But yeah, there it is. I'm happy about it. I don't think, a lot of people were thinking like, oh, is it going to take the Starfield 11/11/22 date?
Yeah.
And it almost did, but it's almost like it's like, why didn't you? It was right there. It's a Friday and you did it on a Wednesday instead.
Yeah.
But yeah, a date that kind of was vacated since Starfield was delayed to next year. Not a whole lot coming out in early November there. So yeah, there it is. I assume we'll see some sort of gameplay showcase in a month or so in some sort of state of play or something.
Yeah.
But for now, we just got that CG trailer, which was fine. And like, here's like the collector's edition and that kind of stuff. That was it.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, I'm not one to get collector's editions much anymore, mainly because I don't have much room thanks to my Gundams that I'm into building now. But that Mjolnir hammer, that's pretty tempting. But then I saw that the Steelbook only came with nothing but air in it. I'm like, oh, it's a weird, man. It's a weird trend.
Yeah, it is. It is. Of all the packages, the collector's edition, you would think, a collector might want the physical game.
You would think, yeah. That's actually a topic I want to do maybe for a patch notes or maybe another episode or something that we can get out at some point, is this trend of how, like, it just seems like it's getting more. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead here with my thinking. but kind of like the recent stuff with Ubisoft taking Assassin's Creed was a Liberation off of storefronts or something, and them doing that with a few other games, and just kind of looking at how there's some games that are being removed from digital storefronts. It's like, I don't know if this digital future for gaming was really all that we thought it would be. It's starting to kind of show some questionable signs and stuff. And so that is another kind of nail in the coffin, so to speak, that kind of has me wanting to talk about it on a more
definitely. I think we can expound upon that. Part of the problem, just real quickly, and we can move on, is you like choice is good. You want options, and that's kind of what we've always thought we would have. You could go get it digitally, or you can still go into a Walmart or GameStop and get your physical disc. But the problem here is when you do go get that disc, and in the instance of a lot of games, I think Halo Infinite is the most recent kind of big one. It's just a key for the download. There's no data on the disc. You have no game there. There's nothing you can. So that's a problem, and something maybe to talk about there.
Yeah. It's just kind of a bummer because if Fallout 76 happens, how am I gonna play my Assassin's Creed Liberation? I can't because it's not going to be available. I just won't be able to play it. But speaking of things that are just really, really bizarre, so this, starting off with it being sad first, but then it kind of goes into really bizarre, is the former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, and I really hope I pronounced that correctly. If I didn't, someone can correct me, was found dead, shot at the time of this recording would have been last week, but apparently somehow people were joking and making jokes about, I guess, Hideo Kojima being the one that did it or something like that, or his picture was being shared around, and then somehow one of the politicians around there, or I can't remember where it is exactly. I should probably just pull up the article that I have right here.
Well, I think there are certain pockets of the internet, some less savory pockets of the internet that are sort of joking around that Kojima kind of looked like the supposed killer. And then there was one French website or publication that kind of ran with it and actually published a story with Kojima's photo saying this was in fact the killer. So it quickly spiraled into the situation where Kojima Productions had to reach out and say like, no, this is not a thing. And it's one of the wackier things, of all the video game creators for this to happen to. It happened to Hideo Kojima, Mr. Wacky himself. So this is just kind of a wild story that it was just sort of like it had to be brought up, I feel like.
Yeah. And it's wild because I was spending time with the family, so I caught on to this way late in the day. But I saw that someone had pointed out that it was ironic that Hideo Kojima, of all people, is the one getting kind of unceremoniously thrown under the bus here on this thing when it's not even his fault. He made a game, Metal Gear Solid 2, which we'll have to cover here soon, about a game spreading misinformation or lies or something and leading people astray. And it's like, dude, he literally predicted the future. Yeah. Again, we'll get into this when we talk about Metal Gear Solid 2, but that game is just crazy at how like prophetic it was in a couple different areas. But we were talking about this over in the Discord, and one of the folks in the Discord actually was talking about kind of how defamation laws in Japan are super serious. And he shared this one under Article 203-1 of the Criminal Code of Japan that says, a person who defames another by alleging facts in public shall, regardless of whether such facts are true or false, be punished by imprisonment with or without work for not more than 3 years, or a fine of not more than 500,000 yen, which is roughly around $3,500 in US dollars. So I was just like, even if it's true, the person can still go to jail for it. It's wild.
Right. Yeah. Just a wild story all around. And I don't mean to kind of laugh and joke about it. It is a shame that the prime minister was assassinated, but just something I didn't expect to kind of wake up and read that morning.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And just, oh my gosh, people making stupid jokes on the internet. And anyway, it's wild. Again, dear listeners, links to all this news stuff, all the news things that we are talking about will be in your show notes, so you can go check it out for yourself. But ending on a more lighter note, here we are, July 12th, and just out of nowhere, Nintendo announces Kirby's Dream Buffet, which is a Kirby slash, well, I called it on Twitter Kirby with a dash of Fall Guys, because it's not the 60 player battle royale type thing. It's just you and I think it's like 4 players total going through these different obstacle courses, mini games, and trying to win and do all that. So I guess it's probably closer to Mario Party mini games than it would be Fall Guys in that regard. But it looks good. Comes out this summer with no definitive date, like no detailed date exactly, or no price point. So I'm hoping it's not $60 because I want to play it, but not for $60. Micah, what did you think about this really surprise out of left field announcement by Nintendo?
Yeah, I'm watching the trailer again right now, and it's definitely got that Fall Guys kind of vibe to it, as far as it looks like you're kind of racing sort of a lot of time, or maybe you're just trying to get the most strawberries. I'm not exactly sure, but a lot of Fall Guys energy going on here. And what's hilarious is Nintendo tweeted this out on their official Twitter account and announced the game. And then literally their very next tweet was a retweet from Fall Guys about something to do with that game. And man, people were jumping in the comments like, oh, the better Fall Guys is out now and all this sort of stuff. It was super good. But yeah, man, super welcome announcement here, just kind of randomly dropping out of nowhere, like you said. We'll have to see. I think it was maybe Adam in the Dear Critics thread was saying something about, man, this game's going to be real shallow. It's going to be a lot of fun, but real shallow.
Yeah. I
can't necessarily disagree with them. They've had, with some of their sports games like Strikers and Mario Golf and stuff like that, they've had a little bit of that going on lately, a little bit of that energy where maybe it seemed like they kind of phoned it in a little bit as far as the depth of modes and just kind of the depth of the gameplay. So we'll see. It looks a lot of fun, especially, for that kind of couch co-op stuff. But we'll keep our fingers crossed and kind of watch reviews for that one and see how it unfolds.
I will say, watching the trailer for this made me go, man, I wish I didn't blow all of my budget on Super Mario Strikers in the Fantasy Critic League, because I would have picked this up. I would have went for this one a little bit for probably $5 or $10.
Yeah, for sure. I might pick it up. We'll see. I don't know. This episode will actually. Alex will hear this beforehand, but he's got a full roster, I think. Anyway, not gonna worry about it. Not gonna talk about the league that much.
Can't let Alex
what I will or will not bid on
on what you're doing. Can't give him any background. I don't know, any kind of it. What is it called in sports where it's like, is it inside information? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, sure. Or just whatever.
I don't know
advantage.
Sports.
Can't give him an advantage.
Yeah, there you go. Can't give him an advantage. But yeah, so anyway, like I said, dear listeners, links to all this stuff that we talked about will be in your show notes. You can go check all that stuff out yourself. You can go read up on it. But as you're doing that, let's get into a little bit of what have we been playing. Micah, man, I looked at the doc, and I've already reached out to some people. And we're scheduling a date to give you an intervention on MLB The Show, man, because you asked for it in here. You said you might need it, but I took it as I need it for sure.
This is your official alert, Logan, for you to keep an eye on me. So like next episode, for example, if MLB The Show is on the dock, you need to be like, all right, Micah, we need to step away here for this is a live service game. It's like sucking me in, man. It's a really good game. But I need to stop. I can't. I'm not knocking live service games that much, or people that like MLB The Show or anything else. This isn't like me. I like to move on and play a bunch of different games throughout the year, and being stuck on one game is just very uncharacteristic. So the fact that I'm still playing it, I guess, is testament to the game, but maybe just testament to kind of like it's got like baseball cards in it basically that you can collect, and it's like I used to collect those growing up, and it's dangerous, man. It's getting me real big, and then so you got stubs is the like in-game currency, so you got to get more stubs, and of course you pay money for those, and it's I haven't paid any money yet, but I'm tempted. I'm right there. So the fact that I'm tempted, I know I need to stop right now.
I like how you added the word "yet" at the end of that sentence. Like, man, I've come. That tells me you've come close. Like, you've had the money in your cart on PlayStation. You almost hit that buy button, but you backed out.
My thumb was over the X button, ready to hit buy, and I said, "No, Satan, get behind me." But no, good game. I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but yeah, I just kind of want to have some fun with that one. What I've really been getting into primarily that two games that have just been a delight. One of them is Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course.
Wow.
Which is, of course, the DLC, the long-awaited DLC for Cuphead. The 1930s inspired 2D animated shmup, I guess. It's kind of a shmup. It's like a shooter.
Either way,
scrolling.
You're giving me traumatic flashbacks to when I played the game because friend of the show, Steven, was like not really peer pressuring me to play, but definitely like making fun of me for not playing it. But yeah, no, go on. How difficult is this one compared to the base game?
It's hard. It's like the last wave of bosses around that difficulty. Like there's 3 aisles in the main game. It's some of the harder ones based on memory. I didn't go back and like intermix them, but you can they introduced a new playable character, Miss Chalice, in the DLC that has like a double jump in the game that the other characters didn't have. It's kind of like a different move set a little bit, and offers just enough tweaks to kind of add some new wrinkles, and you can go back and use her for the main game as well. So it's pretty cool. There's new weapons and charms that you can get from Pork Rind, the item shop owner.
Yeah.
It's a whole island on its own. So it's about the size of one of those 3 islands that you visited in the main game, about a third of the size, and it's only like $7 or $10 or something. It's really cheap.
Oh wow, okay, I didn't know it was that cheap.
So, and it has all that great music that you would expect, the great bosses. It's only bosses in this DLC. There's no kind of those run and gun levels that was in the main game. It's none of those. Okay. But it does have a couple of secrets that I won't go into that are very nice, and just a lot of fun. Great overall package for Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course.
Man, well, I'm glad you're enjoying it, because I was like, I'm not getting into it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get all the trophies in it, but I've gone through and I did beat all the bosses in it. I've kind of cleared it. I've rolled the credits on it. Super good.
Did you get all the trophies in the base game?
Yeah, I did.
You got the platinum for Cuphead?
I did. Yeah, one of my most proud platinums. That and Fall Guys. I mentioned Fall Guys either in the pre-show or in the main show. I can't remember. Yeah, I got the Cuphead platinum, and I am super proud of it.
Hats off to you, man. Hats off to you.
Yeah. And then, great music in Cuphead, but another game I've been playing that has fantastic music, and I can't get it out of my head. Oh my goodness, is Final Fantasy IX.
Is it going through your head right now even?
No, I'm trying to express how much I love it. It's like, it's both nostalgia. I've never played Final Fantasy IX. This is a huge gap in my kind of, I'm a PlayStation fan. I consider myself, very knowledgeable on PlayStation's history and kind of what the seminal games have been across all the consoles and years. And this is just a big gap in my library where I never played it. And so it's free on the PlayStation Plus service now. And so I was like, well, let me download this bad boy and give it a try. It has all those kind of modern quality of life things like fast forward and battle assist and all these sort of things that, you can do to make it go by faster for grinding and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so I've been employing those a little bit to where when it makes sense. Like when I'm doing story beats and doing bosses, I'll play the game normally. But if I'm out in the world map, I can just like grind and turn that fast forward on and turn on like every hit is 9,999 and just like go through grinding real quick. But going back to the music, man, holy smokes. It's just like it's like a blast from the past. It feels both nostalgic and new at the same time. Okay. Because of the era that it was from, that PS1, just all those kind of sounds and how they did Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9. Mm-hmm. And but of course, and I'm blanking on the composer's name right now.
Nobuo Uematsu.
Thank you. Yes. He's got such a flavor and a style that just when you hear it, it's like, yes, it's like a warm blanket. So I'm loving Final Fantasy IX. It's got a great story. I'm on like, I just beat disc 1. I guess I'm maybe in the middle of disc 2 or so of the 4 discs. I'm following a guide. That's why I know I'm on disc. I'm not, obviously there's 9 discs I'm putting into the PlayStation 5. But following kind of a walkthrough, going through that, I'm not really trying to get everything or do all the trophies. I just want to go through the story and experience it. Having a lot of fun with it. It's I don't go back and revisit old games a lot of times, but I'm glad I did with this one. I'm going to finish it out. So yeah, enjoying Final Fantasy IX, and just that music, man, is just chef's kiss good. Love it.
Yeah, man. It's funny. I was having a little bit of a deja vu effect here because I think it was Nate over of the Backlog Breakdown podcast. He was playing through that one either recently or currently.
Yeah.
He was talking about how he was really enjoying it. I played, I think I got to disc 3, if I remember correctly. I just remember I got pretty far in it and then I kind of like dipped out because I just came to a point I just wasn't enjoying it. And I don't know, maybe I need to go back to it and play because I have this thing that this trend that I'm noticing where like if I didn't enjoy a game, if I go back to it later at a different time, I typically will enjoy it more. So I don't know, listening to you talk about it and listening to Nate, I might have to give this one another go and see.
I believe Josh and Nate over the Backlog Breakdown recently had an episode on this one, I think, or something like that, and we're kind of diving into it deeply. And yeah, I can see why it's one of those. I think it's, kind of held as like kind of the upper half of Final Fantasy games,
Right. It's definitely
so I always kind of wanted to get back to it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, it's funny that you are playing a multi-disc retro JRPG because so am I. And I actually took this out of the show notes because I didn't think I'd get to it, but I'm going to get into it anyway. After I finished Trails in the Sky, those 3 games, I was like, man, I don't really want to jump into the Cold Steel series just yet because I want to play Trails from Zero first, and I'll play those and wait. So in the meantime, while I'm waiting for Trails from Zero to come out in the fall, it's like let me play through Lost Odyssey. It's a game I never finished from the 360.
Nice.
So it was funny. I was looking at the achievements for it, and I got the majority of the achievements, and it showed I got all the way to disc 3, like maxed out Kime and Seth or one of the other characters. Got like one of the ultimate weapons, but it said I never beat it. And I'm like, what in the world happened to me? I did all this work and then never finished the game. What's going on? So playing through it again, it's just as good as I remember it. The little story vignette things where you're unlocking Kime's memories throughout the game. For those who don't know, Lost Odyssey, you follow Kime, who is an immortal. Like he's lived for 1,000 years. And so as you're going through the game, you're unlocking memories because he's just kind of forgotten a lot of stuff over the last 1,000 years, which plays into the plot. I don't want to go much further than that. So I'll leave you to look that up at your own leisure. But as you play through the game, you encounter different scenarios. It unlocks memories, which were written by this really well-known writer in Japan. And they hit either just as hard or differently now that I'm older as I'm reading them. And it's cool how they fleshed out this character's past through this narrative thing, which is really just a more fancy version of PowerPoint transitions. But it's still really cool. I'm having a blast with it. I'm hoping to get the game finished and a review it by the end of July. But we'll see how that goes. Just really enjoying that. I'm on disc 2 as well. I guess so.
Now Lost Odyssey, I want to make sure I'm on the right game. This is the 2008 era Xbox 360 game, right?
Yeah. Done by Mistwalker Studios.
Okay.
Who did Blue
Just making
Dragon.
sure I'm thinking of the right one.
Yeah. And now they just do mobile iOS games, which I don't know what that's all about. But
that game, and it was, I think, Blue Dragon came out around the same time for Xbox. And that was part of a more like Japanese push, which is kind of funny because they're kind of trying to do that again now. Recently, Xbox is with Persona and getting the deal with Kojima and things like that.
Yeah.
But
I've got another great idea for them. Hire Mistwalker Studios, make a Lost Odyssey 2.
There you go.
Blue Dragon 2. I don't know. Just an idea. An idea. But I'm trying to think because I don't want to spend too much time on the games I've been playing here. So I think I'll narrow it down to these other 2 that I've been really focusing on and then save the other one for the next episode or put more time into it. But, I mentioned in episode 218, someone asked, if we could make a sequel to a game or a remake or whatever it is, what game would it be? And I mentioned Custom Robo. Ever since I played this game on the GameCube, I have been waiting or looking for a game similar to it. And I finally found it, Micah. I finally found it. And it's in Gundam Breaker 3, which is a game centered all around Gundam building, that whole hobby of gunplay, building your own Gundam, throwing it into an arena in VR, blowing up other people's mechs. And it's a blast. It's everything I wanted Custom Robo to be and more, but now it's combined with Gundam and it's perfect. And it's a blast. I tweeted about it for probably people were annoyed with me how much I tweeted out about it because I just kept talking about the game. But it's really good. I am shocked at how good this game is.
What platform are you playing it on?
Now I'm playing on PS5. It came out on PS4.
Now, are you looking to get that platinum on this one now?
See, I don't know because I looked at the trophy list and it's actually not that bad. It's pretty doable. So I'm considering it. But
okay, all right.
It is a lot of fun. And there's no online trophies, thank goodness, because the online for it is dead or offline.
Okay, good.
So that's even more incentive for me to continue playing. But yeah, man, I love it. You basically the premise is you're partnered up with this other character. You're going through different towns in Japan and entering in tournaments and taking your custom built model Gundam and entering it into VR fights and then going through all that. And so you're going through the different areas, collecting parts, upgrading your mech, making it more powerful, giving it new abilities. Like I said, it's everything I wanted from Custom Robo, but even more in the modern age. But it's funny because I picked up new Gundam Breaker along with this just because I know people don't like the game. They said it's really bad in comparison to the previous games. I was like, for $10, how bad can it be? Oh, it is bad. It is not good. Gundam Breaker 3 is a much, much better game. So it's cool. I like how they change it up to where as you go through the story, it incentivizes you to return to previous areas because it'll designate certain areas as a hotspot. Okay. And that's where they put like rarer or random bosses in there that have unique parts. So you can basically just grind that out to get the parts for the robot you're wanting to make. So you can really make your own kind of perfect build that you're looking for. And it's awesome.
Man, I know we were talking about it in one of the threads earlier this week, but it's been rumored that the next From Software game is going to be a new Armored Core game.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how much familiarity you have with the franchise, but I'd be curious to know, whatever From Software puts out next is going to be huge, just riding on the waves of Elden Ring, even if it's something like Armored Core and not directed by Miyazaki. So do you have any interest in what this might be?
Totally. Yeah. Cause I can't remember who it was exactly. I'm blanking on their name, but they said it was basically like fully customizable mechs or something like that. And I was like, dude, say no more. I'm in. I've never played Armored Core before, but I've always kind of seen it from afar. I remember working at GameStop and seeing Armored Core 3 on the shelves. And I was like, this looks cool, but it sounds really complex. So I just never played it, but I bet now I'd probably eat it up.
I've only played the original, which I think was on PlayStation 1. I think. I'm not sure, but either way,
sounds right.
It's been so long. I wouldn't really recognize the franchise or have much. I wouldn't be able to say a whole lot about it today. But anyway, just a quick aside.
Yeah. So no, I'm definitely looking forward to that. But speaking of other games where you're getting into fights, breaking parts, and trying to make your best character as best as they can possibly be, I've been playing a ton of Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. The new DLC just launched a couple weeks ago. And last week when I was visiting my folks, again, I spent a lot of time with my folks. I don't want people to get any kind of misconceptions here. But I also put, I think, around 20 to 30 hours into the game last week too. So it just... Here's the thing. It was Sunbreak is funny because Capcom said you need to be like star rank 7 or whatever it is to access the DLC. And I'm like, cool. I did that, finished the game on Switch. I'll just hop into it and I'll be fine. Apparently I should have kept playing the game and leveling up my character and getting better armor and weapons because when I started Sunbreak, the new monsters were just demolishing me. And I was like, what the heck is happening? I almost quit it, but I was like, no, I'm going to keep playing because I'll eventually get to the point where I get my that one weapon that I just really click with. I get the armor pieces just right, get everything situated, and I'll be fine. And I've reached that point, and that was like 10, 12 hours ago. And now I'm really enjoying it. A lot of the new monsters are ridiculously cool looking. They're really fast. They're really hard. There's this one that's a gorilla, like a stone gorilla with when he gets enraged, his right fist turns into like a lava fist and his other fist turns into like a water fist, and he just uses that to like just jump around the arena. It's stinking cool. I think his name's Garen Golem or something. He's even got one of the best charge blades in the game, but it's a lot of fun. It's really cool. I love the new follower quest that they put in the game, because when it comes to these games, I'm more of a solo player, and so I don't mind playing with other people. It's fine. It is what it is. But I would much rather play by myself. And the follower system now allows you to pull in NPC hunters from the story on these hunts, so you can grind those out. And they're actually pretty capable and super powerful. So I'm like, this needs to be a staple in the series for me to keep playing, because this is what I wish
would be my mode.
had. Yeah, it's great. And I wish I had it in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, Generations. What was that other one I played on this? I can't remember, but there was one other one I played. Wish I had this and all the others. So needless to say, Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak is stupid good. I am having a lot of fun with it. I just, it was funny. I was playing it and my parents were sitting there watching me play it, and they're like, you can track how all this is? Like there's so much going on. And they're like, oh, they're so fast. And I'm like, hey, this ain't the Super Mario Brothers that you're used to. So
that thought of just your parents watching you play a game that's so novel to me. I can't imagine my parents just sitting there watching me play a game of any type for any reason. I can't remember the last time I played games in front of them, or if they watched me. Is maybe like when I was a teenager or something like that. But yeah, this just kind of makes me laugh.
yeah. It was definitely hilarious having them watch it and listen to their commentary. It was a good time. But yeah, so I just, I think you said this a couple episodes ago about how we're just, as gamers, we're eating good right now. And man, it's got a smorgasbord of awesome games.
Yeah.
Right in front of me that are ironically kind of Lost Odyssey isn't similar, but Gundam Breaker 3 and Monster Hunter Rise are
there's
similar.
Something for every taste right now.
Yeah, it's so stinking good. So stinking good. Speaking of things that are so stinking good, if you like this podcast, go leave a rating and review on your podcast app of choice. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button, subscribe, comment, all that jazz there. I don't know, maybe say something about my beard, because that seems to be what everybody else likes to comment about. But let's get into the topic of the show. We're talking about how we're eating good as gamers. And let's be honest, this year has been good for us gamers in terms of game releases. Elden Ring, Ninja Turtles, got Xenoblade coming up soon, and a new Call of Duty. I mean, like I said, there's something for every gamer. But one of the things that I wanted to revisit with this episode was a question that Alex Castellanos, Alex, correct me. He submitted in our mailbag episode that we just couldn't really get to at the time, just because of timing. Summer Game Fest hadn't happened. But now that we're further into the summer, we're almost halfway done now. As a teacher, I kind of cringe at just a little bit, but he asked, maybe you can take a wider industry look at the fall lineup for Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation post Summer Game Fest, and get the TRG fans' temperature or hype level toward each of the big three heading into the fall season. And this is kind of good timing, because the fall season of gaming is going to be upon us here shortly. And so it's probably a good time to take Alex up on his question, revisit it, go a little more in depth with it, or actually just go into it and look at the fall lineup of games, kind of go over some of our favorites, see what our patrons are excited for, and go from there. So, dear listeners, I have links to different lineups of these platforms in your show notes for Nintendo, PlayStation. I couldn't find one for just solely Xbox exclusive games, which we'll get to here in a second, but you can go check out those links as well to kind of see the calendar lineup of what we've got going on. So we've talked a little bit about this in the past of games that we're excited about that are coming out here pretty soon. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is just right around the corner for a lot of us JRPG fans, but there's definitely some other ones here. And we reached out to our patrons here. As always, you can submit your write-ins and things like that for the episodes here on Patreon. Patreon.com/TheReformedGamers. And Luke Strain writes in and says that he's excited for Halo Infinite co-op and to keep playing more online multiplayer. Also, Marvel Midnight Suns game seems to be Slay the Spire combined with Marvel and XCOM, which is music to my ears. Now, man, this is going to be a pretty interesting fall, mainly because of Halo Infinite being one thing, which we can talk about here in a second. But Marvel Midnight Suns, I mean, we're all getting a bunch of superhero stuff. PC players are going to get Spider-Man. We're going to get Marvel Midnight Suns. And I believe there's one other superhero game that I am
Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights, thank you. Which is something that Alex Castellanos, well, he says he's it's an honorable mention in his write-in. If it can review better than people think. And Alex, I hope that game reviews good, because the gameplay hasn't really impressed me all that much so far, but I'm ready to be proven wrong. But Micah, man, as you kind of look through this a little bit here, and as we kind of have gone over some of the games mentioned here, what do you think as you kind of look at the different calendars we have, and as we compare each of the big three together? Let's kind of get into that a little bit first.
Yeah, well, I'll kick it off with Nintendo, I guess. They, first and foremost, they're on such a hot streak right now. I say hot streak. They've been on one. They just continue to be selling Switches and pumping out software. They have the luxury to, like, Xenoblade Chronicles was done, and it was going to be in September. They're like, oh, nope, just kidding. Let's just move it up to July. Like, they have that luxury to just move games around because stuff's done. They have software ready to go. They're in a great spot. Yeah. So like you said, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is one of, if not the biggest, depending on what kind of fan you are, game they have coming out over the next 3 or 4 months here at the end of July. So Logan, I know you're going to be getting into that one. I've not dabbled into the Xenoblade Chronicles game, so I'm not super familiar with them, but I know a lot of fans will be loving them. Of course, the big one at the end of the quarter in November is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. That one's going to sell, that's going to, just sell 10 billion copies immediately. But there's Splatoon 3 coming out in September.
That one's going to be huge.
Yeah, that's the one that was going to come out in July, and it swapped with Xenoblade Chronicles. And there's a handful of other ones, some like multi-platform games that are also coming to other platforms, like the Diofield Chronicle or Diofield Chronicle. That game Harvestella that they recently showed on a direct is coming out in November. So, for my money, Xenoblade Chronicles, and it's sort of weird to say it, that's the one to me that kind of jumps out as like the hardcore gamers game. What are you thinking about some of those that I tossed out there?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the trailer for Diofield Chronicles because they put out a new one here recently, and I was sitting there watching it. I'm like, oh man, this looks really complex. This kind of reminds me of Valkyria Chronicles a little bit, with just how like you zone your characters and you move them around and you do like flanking positions and you get bonuses from that. And it looked cool. I don't know. I don't know how big the whole tactic style RPG games are anymore. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see, but I think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is definitely their heavy hitter for the Switch. And I think even Splatoon 3 is going to be big just because, I hang around on Reddit, and I was in the Splatoon 2 one for the longest time. It was just so active for years, and people were just talking this game up, and I played it for a short stint, didn't have any problem getting into matches. And this was like a year or two after the game had released. So I think both games are going to be kind of those ones that are going to have Nintendo Switch fans chomping at the bit. It's like, you want a kind of philosophical JRPG with crazy action and heartfelt moments, or do you want the more laid back, fun, competitive, bright and colorful kind of shooter type game? It's like we talked about earlier, game for everybody pretty much.
Yeah, this is Splatoon. I'm looking at right here on Wikipedia. Splatoon 2 has sold over 13 million copies so far. So yeah, just a massive franchise. It's one of their newer ones, but of course it's like a lot of their games, it's that family friendly, you can kind of, so many people can get into it. So yeah, massive game for them there. Any other ones? When I was looking through the Switch releases, it was actually pretty sparse. I almost found myself finding more Xbox games, which not that there aren't many Xbox exclusives, but just games that were coming to Xbox more so than I saw things for the Switch that jumped out to me. Was there anything else, Logan, that was jumping out to you for Nintendo?
Not really. I mean, those are kind of the big three. I mean, you have, of course, so we're looking specifically at the fall at this point. So I know people are probably like, wait a minute, where's Live I Live? That, of course, is going to be another big one, especially with the demo being out and available for people to play. But there's a third one that I am blanking on, and I can't. Yeah, it's gone off to pull up the list. But yeah, apart from that, I don't really see much else. I mean, of course, you have your cross-platform games like Marvel's Midnight Suns is going to be one, of course. Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope is going to be another one that my wife is
a good one.
Personally excited for that one there. I didn't really care for the first one. Not that I think it's bad or anything. I just couldn't get into it. But that's one that she really enjoyed. So I think that's another one. And then, of course, Pokemon is always big. But I mean, just talking to some of the Pokemon fans and our TRG community, just that isolated area and not anywhere else, it seems like a lot of the longtime Pokemon fans are kind of tired of Pokemon. And so I don't know if Scarlet and Violet are going to get these folks to play or not, or what. So it'll just be interesting to kind of watch and see how that goes. I'm going to pick it up because I like those games, and so it is what it is.
Well, a couple of other multi-platform or have already been on other platform games that are coming to the Switch this fall. No Man's Sky, pretty cool. Nier Automata is coming out for Switch, and then Persona 5 Royal, is coming multi-platform. Switch is one of those platforms. So I know a lot of people, it'll be like perfect for Switch.
It's funny now that you mentioned that, because literally everything I think Gene Park even tweeted this out about how as soon as that was announced for Switch, it's like, that's where I'm going to play it. Sorry, Xbox. And I'm like, yeah, I have a feeling that's going to be a lot of people's kind of perspective. Because when I played Persona 4 Golden on the Vita, I loved it. Like, that was the best way, in my opinion, to play it, because it's portable. You can play it here and there. You can put it in standby mode. Switch has a similar feature. And so with Persona 5 Royal, I mean, what better way to play a 100-hour JRPG than to put it on a portable machine that you can put in standby, come back to when you want, take it with you on the go. I think that'll be the ideal way to play. I had completely forgotten about that, to be honest with you. So I think that's another big one that I'll be very curious to see kind of the comparison between how it does on the Switch and how it does on Xbox, because it's going to be on Game Pass. So
good question. Yeah, that power of the Switch and just their connection with Japanese kind of games in general. And then, just it being on Game Pass, that is going to be a fascinating kind of look at the NPD sales for Switch, and just see or I don't know if we'll ever get the actual data as far as, sales on that platform. But then, we might get some numbers from Xbox about, we had, 7 million players play Persona 5 in the first week or whatever the heck, which would be really cool to hear as well. Yeah. So yeah, Logan, we're kind of, I guess we're maybe about to transition from Nintendo to Xbox. So I'm new to the show. Where the dear listeners are still getting to know kind of my taste and stuff. I've never played a Xenoblade Chronicles game, like I just said before, and I've also never played a Persona game before.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So if you were to recommend one franchise to me, which one would you recommend me play?
I mean, they're both I really like Xenoblade Chronicles, especially on the Switch with the definitive edition. Had a lot of good quality of life improvements. Persona is like super popular too. I think you could pick either one, honestly, and have a good bit of fun. I think probably Persona 5 is a little more accessible because the combat in Xenoblade is a little more technical in terms of how it works.
Could I start with P5 or should I go back to like Persona 3 or 4 or something?
Nah, you can start with Persona 5. It's kind of like Final Fantasy. They're all like separate, distinct things. There's no connecting threads aside from the personas you meet. And so, you could start with 5. Be totally fine. All right. It is a 100-hour JRPG, though. So just know that going in.
I know what I'm getting into if I start that journey.
Yeah, which actually Xenoblade is about the same too. So either way, you're in for a 100-hour JRPG. So it doesn't matter. Either way, you're getting a good long journey. But yeah, kind of switching gears a little bit here to look at Xbox and PlayStation as well. As I look through Xbox, just trying to see kind of like if they have any exclusives. I was bummed out when they announced Forza Motorsport is going to be delayed until I think March of next year. I'm like, oh man, I was looking forward to play that this year, but whatever, it is what it is. I get it. But like what Luke said, more Halo content, which I'm going to be honest, they kind of need it. They need that extra content. Since Halo Infinite launched, it's been super rocky.
It's not just Forza Motorsport. It's also, of course, Redfall and Starfield. Yeah. It was the other big ones that got delayed. That Starfield was a gut punch, I think, for Xbox a little bit, as far as when you look at the calendar. That was the game, man. That whenever it does release, it'll be an event. I think it'll be an event. Yeah. All Bethesda Game Studios games are massive and just very well received, and so on and so forth. So that game's going to be huge whenever it hits. So the fact that they called that November 11th date like 18 months prior to it coming out, and then it slipped out, man, that was really a gut punch to the Xbox community. And they don't really have anything first party, I don't think, for the rest of the year, if I'm not mistaken. I was looking at the list and I didn't see anything that was. There's some exclusive games, but nothing that's coming from Microsoft first party. So when you look at their list, they do have a lot of good games, but it's stuff that's coming to PC or PlayStation or Switch as well. But with that said, some of the standouts for me, and I think one is a day one Game Pass, and one that they're probably going to push now, especially that there's some vacancies, is A Plague Tale Requiem, the sequel to A Plague Tale Innocence. I recently played that game and found it really latched on to the characters and the story, and really enjoyed that game a lot. So I'm looking forward to A Plague Tale Requiem, which comes out on October 18th. They've got Lord of the Rings Gollum that will be coming out September 1st. Go ahead and say it, man.
Ever since I heard, I think it was Chris Reagan on Sacred Symbol say that Gollum looks like Tommy Pickles, I can't unsee it, man. It just, I can't unsee it. That's all I see now. And like, part of me wants to play it just for, I guess, the memes, as kids say.
Tommy Pickles from Rugrats fame, of course. Just for those uninitiated. Yeah. I can't disagree with that. I don't have the highest hopes in Lord of the Rings Gollum, but
I don't either.
Certainly a lot of eyeballs on it.
Especially Gollum, because how big his eyes are. Oh man,
savage. Oh man. Yeah. I'm rooting for that game, but we will see.
Yeah.
Several other sort of like just multi-platform games coming to Xbox, like that skateboarding game Session finally coming out. Overwatch 2, October 4th. Of course, Midnight Suns we covered a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Persona 5 Royal. That crazy HR Giger looking horror game Scorn. Comes out in October. Is this one too much, Logan? Too much for
man.
You?
I watched the trailer again a couple days ago just to be reminded of what it was, and now I remembered when I was watching. I was like, oh, I remember why I don't remember what this is, because my brain's trying to suppress it. Because look, gore and that stuff doesn't normally bother me in games. Played Doom, played the newer Resident Evil games, which are arguably more violent. It doesn't really bother me there, but this one I was sitting there watching. I was like, this one's not for me, fam. This one, not for me, is a little too much,
right,
for me here. I don't know. What about you, man? Does that entice you at all, or
no? I think I'm going to pass for content reasons as well. That just the overall art style is just it does its job very well.
Yes,
I'll put it that way. Like, it's a good looking game. I'll say that. But there's just too many nopes, too many not for a Christian. I don't think so. I think not judging you if you want to go play this or excited about it or whatever, but there's some things that I don't think my eyes should see in that game. Probably.
I've just been playing like JRPGs all year pretty much. So I mean, it's all like bright and colorful and happy. The closest thing I got to violent gore was an Elden Ring, and this is just, I don't know, maybe I'm not desensitized to it anymore, but it just, it's a little too much for me. So
yeah. Real quick, since we were talking about Gollum, Aaron White, one of the patrons, he wrote in and he said, I am also curious about Lord of the Rings Gollum since I'm an enormous Middle Earth fan, but not optimistic, and will be closely tracking reviews. Oh, excuse me. He's talking about Valkyrie Elysium. He's moving on.
Aaron,
yeah, he's not super optimistic about it.
I think that's all of us that are curious that want to play this game, man. We're curious, but we're not optimistic.
Yeah.
It's funny. You bring up Aaron White, and he wrote in some of the games that he's looking forward to. Some of them we mentioned. Last of Us remake we haven't talked about just yet. Diofield Chronicles, Resident Evil Village DLC, which I'm definitely looking forward to. God of War Ragnarok, which we'll talk about here in a second. He commented, Aaron, you should have known I was going to make fun of you a little bit about this for this. He added a comment on there as well. It said, oh, and also The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild HD on Switch. That's possibly my number one. It's happening. It is happening. And I had to respond to him like, wait, isn't that out on Switch already? Did you mean to put that? And he's like, I meant Wind Waker. Oh, man.
I was about to say, he introduced me to, Aaron introduced me to this Twitter account that the name of the account is Wind Waker on Switch yet? That's the name of the Twitter account. And so every week or so, he's like, no, that's his Twitter. That's his post. Like, no, it's not.
That's like the one I was following for a while. It says like, is there a new Metroid on the Switch? And for the longest time it said no. And then when Dread got announced, it like the account just broke.
Yeah. Beautiful.
That's awesome. Well, so Xbox, Xbox is going to get a lot of cross-platform games. There's still going to be plenty to play on that system. And there's no denying that Game Pass is going to be a huge incentive for a lot of people that are on that platform. It's like, you don't, especially as we kind of look at, we're not going to go too in depth into this, but as we kind of look at the state of the economy, gas prices, all that jazz, and especially those of us in Texas with the high electric prices for ACs and all that stuff going on with energy, it's kind of enticing to just pay $15 and have access to the newest games and be able to play those kind of on the cheap, Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to help a lot of these games get a lot of people playing them this fall. But arguably sorry, I'm just realizing I'm skipping over a lot of these comments here. Let me just go back and read some of these comments here, these writers from Patreon. Josh Brocklow wrote in and said, well, right now I'm pretty focused on my current library. We know you want to say backlog, Josh. We know. It's okay. I won't razz you too much. In terms of what's coming up, Xenoblade 3 and Soul Hackers are at the forefront of my mind. I guess I'm more of a weeb than I care to admit. Soul Hackers is kind of in the same vein as Persona, Shin Megami Tensei. I'm not super interested to play this game. I'm not sure what it is about it. I'm just not drawn to it like I was Shin Megami Tensei. Do you have any interest? No,
it's I actually had to go back and watch a trailer for Soul Hackers 2 because Josh put it in here. I was like, have I seen this yet? And I had, but yeah, this is just all that kind of Shin Megami Tensei. That stuff is just it's a little bit out of my taste, I guess. A little bit. Maybe too weeby, to use Josh's vernacular. But I like some nerdy stuff, but I just never got into Soul Hackers. I will say the trailer looked quality, but that's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, that one is also coming to Xbox, which is nice to see more JRPGs coming there. Just don't compare it to Persona, at least not on the internet. Now, Sojourner also wrote in and said he's interested in a number of AA more indie style games like Stray, Plague Tale Requiem, which we mentioned, the Callisto Protocol, which is one that I'm looking forward to, Dead Space style game, and Atomic Heart. And then God of War Ragnarok is kind of number one on his list for AAA games, but he's also excited to play Spider-Man and Miles Morales on PC in September, which he's looking forward to all the crazy mods that come out. Better get a symbiote suit on there. Micah, thank you for correcting the spelling on Ragnarok.
Sorry, it's my OCD. It's my OCD. I'm like, oh, correct spelling.
Well, yeah, I do agree with Sojourner though. At the end here, so many great games coming out, so little time to play. Man, how are we going to play all these? Like you said, we don't need 20 games, but there's still a handful of games that we've talked about here a little bit. God of War Ragnarok is one we're going to get to here in a second. On top of everything else, Plague Tale Requiem, Splatoon 3, like whatever it is. not enough time to play.
It's a down year, yet there are all these, potential bangers that we're talking about here that is getting me excited just listening through these games and talking about them. Hopefully you're hearing some things like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I am excited about that as well.
Yeah.
I guess if we're transitioning over to PlayStation real quick, Stray, which was mentioned by Sojourner, I think he mentioned that comes out the week that this episode goes live to the public feeds on Tuesday, July 19th. That'll be in the free for those who are subscribed to PlayStation Plus Extra, the middle tier.
Really?
Correct. Yeah, 100%.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. They're doing some things like that to where it'll be kind of Game Passy a little bit.
Huh.
So Stray is going to be free for that middle PlayStation Plus tier. That game has some headwinds behind it that I think it's going to outperform its kind of potential a little bit. I think people are really excited about that game.
I've seen it come up a lot on my Twitter feed. Not that Twitter is a good indicator of kind of, the general interest or whatever that a lot of people have, but I've definitely seen this game come up a lot to the point where like, I'm not a cat guy, but I want to play it. I'm still regretting that I counterpicked it from Adam.
Yep, he's going to roast you with that.
And I know I'm going to lose points. That's where my downfall will be. But at least it'll be because of a good game.
It looks genuinely good. Yeah, all the trailer footage that they've released so far is right up my alley as far as kind of the vibe of it. But yeah, that's a big one coming in here, just right around the corner for PlayStation. Not really PlayStation, but Spider-Man PC. Coming out August, and then Miles Morales in September, I think. So that'll be big for the PC community to finally play those masterpieces, quite frankly. A big one for me that was on the recent State of Play, I think the most recent State of Play or somewhere, this game from Roll7, the guys who made Ali Ali and Ali Ali World, Roller Drome. Do you remember this one? The kind of roller derby, slow motion, Max Payne flipping around, shooting dudes.
Someone had just shared a new trailer for it in the Discord earlier today, and I was checking it out. I'm like, man, this game, I think it's going to be something special.
I think it might be. I'm definitely keeping my eyes on it. That comes out August 16th, according to my notes here, and so not too far. We'll have to wait long for that one. So that one looks good, and then in early September 2nd, and we can maybe settle in on this one because there's maybe some controversy here. The Last of Us Part 1.
Yeah.
They're calling it The Last of Us Part 1. This is the remake, I guess, if you want to call it that, of The Last of Us. If there was The Last of Us on PS3 and then there was the remaster on PS4, I guess this is the remake.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you, Logan, man, hold on. Is this game necessary?
Are any games necessary, man? I don't know. My thing is, so what was I playing? I was either playing Lost Odyssey or something else. I can't remember what game it was specifically, but I was so annoyed with, I don't think it was Lost Odyssey. It was something else. I'll see if it comes to mind. But no, it was Siphon Filter. And I was trying to play it and I'm like, I hate these controls. I wish they would have like updated these or done something different to where like it just felt more modern or something. And like, I wish that no. Well, Siphon Filter was one, but another one was Metal Gear Solid. I was playing that on the GameCube. And I was like, man, I wish that they would do a remake for this game. This is one of the seminal tentpole kind of games. And I really think that those types of games that are classics need to be remade and kind of touched up every so often. So that way, if people want to go back and play it, it's in the best possible shape that it is in. I know people really love The Last of Us, specifically the first game. And I did too. I thought it was a great game. I don't mind that it's a quote unquote remake. I don't know if it's actually a remake necessarily, but I'm okay with it because I know that even though I may not be the biggest fan of The Last of Us, the first game, there's a ton of people who like that is their top tier number one favorite game of all time right there.
Well, it's not my number one, but it's in my top 5.
Fair enough.
It's up there.
I think that's a game that needs to be revisited every now and then. It needs to be touched up. So if people want to go back and play it, you can play it in the best possible state that it's in. Whether or not it should be $70 is a different conversation. I personally don't think it needs to be $70, but that's just my opinion. But I do think it's kind of necessary in the terms of, I guess, either I think games preservation is kind of what I'm touching on a little bit here.
No, I like what you're saying. I think you're making really good points, and I agree with you for the most part. I think it's not a problem, in my opinion, to go back and revisit games, especially if you're going to be touching it up the way that they're doing.
Yeah.
I think if you keep putting out port after port after port, and you're charging over and over and over for it, kind of the same thing, that is a little egregious. This is something a little bit different. Now, is it worth $70? The market will determine that. This game might be on sale for $30 in 2 months after release. You know what I'm saying? So the market will determine that. I wouldn't worry so much like, it's $70. Don't worry about that. Then don't pay $70 if you don't want it. Pay for it when it's $19.99. Or when it's free on Plus or whatever the case. The market will determine all that. So it's subjective if it's worth whatever X price, For me, heck yeah, I'm going to plop down $70 and I'm going to replay this game. And I'm also saying it's not exactly necessary. I agree with everything you said with the preservation, and it's good to, when you can, which, in most cases you can't. Most developers don't have time, but when you can, it's good to go back and touch up these seminal tentpole games. It's I think we're getting in an era where we're kind of over the like, oh, well, why they do this? It's like there's so much being put out. Just do whatever you want. If you want to go back and up-res this game and knock yourself out, if you want. So it's not like them doing this is like, well, you're not doing other work, Naughty Dog, that you could be doing. I think this was like something they were doing to fill some time because some of their technicians were twiddling their thumbs.
Wasn't this remake started off and like most of the work done by like another team while Naughty Dog could focus on other stuff like factions?
That's the rumor. That's the rumor. Yeah. That it was started by one of their internal studios. I forget the name of it. And then supposedly part of the rumor was that Sony Bend up in Oregon was working on it for a spell. After they got done with Days Gone, before they started their current project, I think. But again, I think it was all about resources and like, hey, we got some programmers that just need some work. Really, we got some artists that just need some work. I think that's kind of how it's sort of been. How they can sort of pitch and say, like, we can get this done because they're just over there not doing a whole lot anyway. You know. So if you have the time and resources to do it, then knock yourself out. I'm excited to see it. Some of the differences, in my opinion, are like jaw-droppingly good. Naughty Dog is the king of, minute detail and all that kind of stuff. So this game appears to be no different.
Yeah, I will say I remember that specifically the one scene with the clicker in it, and like when you compare that to how it looked on the PS4 remaster, it is a night and day difference. It's kind of insane how much the jump in detail is. But I know I'm personally looking forward to it. I don't know if I'm going to pick it up right at release, but I definitely want to play it because I like to experience the games that I enjoy in the best possible state that they can be. And that's just another one. So I'll pick it up eventually, but maybe not right away.
Yeah.
So, but as far as PlayStation goes, I mean, we can't avoid this one. Because this one's the big one we've been waiting for. God of War Ragnarok. We know it's coming, man. November 9th. Several of our write-ins over on Patreon mentioned the game. That one's going to be a heavy hitter, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, maybe.
Whenever I'm trying to remember if you had anyone guest on to talk about the original God of War or who it was. I can't remember.
It was Matt Millsap.
Was it Matt? I was thinking maybe he did it because I know he did The Last of Us. I couldn't remember if you got him for God of War 2018. But either way, we need to do something special for the Ragnarok episode. Get him back on. Maybe grab Adam Sutherland if he's willing to maybe hop on because I know he's a huge God of War fan. This game is going to be huge. It's going to be it's just going to be excellent. I mean, I have no doubt that Sony Santa Monica is going to deliver the goods with this game, even though Cory Barlog is not at the helm of creative director. I don't care. This is going to be a fun time. I think they're going to, now that they've established the engine and kind of the way that this God of War 2018 style game is going to work, I think now they're going to go like kind of bigger with that kind of classic, like these spectacle bosses that God of War traditionally from the old PS2 and PS3 days is known for. And they're just going to really wow the socks off of everyone. I think we're going to get done with each and every boss fight, and our jaws are going to be on the floor, is what I think is going to happen with this game. So this is my most anticipated game, period.
Right now. Wow.
Mainly because it's so close, it's imminent, and it's so mysterious. Like, we don't know that much about it. There's still a lot to learn about it, and the story is so good where they left it in the 2018 God of War. I'm ready to pick back up and see what happens with Kratos and with Atreus, and I'm just beyond pumped for this game.
Yeah, so when they first kind of announced the game and showed it off, I was like, oh, cool, new God of War, it is what it is. But I've been kind of lukewarm to just not more apathetic about it until this recent trailer they released. I'm like, all right, this is looking really good, but I'm kind of left wondering, can we see some gameplay, please? Maybe I just, outside of the initial stuff we got. But I think that's the thing that kind of has me a little more like apprehensive, is just, we're this close out. We haven't seen anything, but I mean, the summer's not over yet. November's not here yet. They could still do a state of play where they go really in depth for 30 minutes and just
definitely
go over a lot. And so I think the optimistic side of me is thinking that's what they're prepping for right now, is to make sure that when they show this off, it's good, because they don't want people to throw fits like they did about, like, with Aloy being like, oh, it's the same animation with her jumping off the thing and doing the rappel thing. And then God of War is the same animation as them jumping in the boat. And I'm like, how do you want it to be different? You want to do a backflip into the boat? Like, I think they want to try and avoid that. And so I think if they are going to show it off, they really want to like kind of make people eat their words to a degree, where it's like, this game is going to be incredible and there's no getting around that now. So I think they want to have that moment. So I'm okay with the silence, because it's kind of tantalizing too. It's like, man, like what's what is there going to be? I want to see it. Mm-hmm. So I think it will be good overall, and I'll definitely be. That's when I will say for sure I'm picking up day one and playing.
Oh yeah,
because I'm so curious.
Dude, that's a take off of work kind of day for me.
Take a week off work, man.
Yeah, maybe. I'm gonna do that.
I'm gonna walk into my classes that day like, all right, y'all, so today we're shifting from physics to mythology. We're gonna play God of War Ragnarok all day, and that's what we're gonna do.
I don't think you'd have any complaints.
I don't think I would either. Half to most of them would just be on their phones anyway.
Except from the parents.
They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know. So PlayStation, I mean, really, we're all eating good, right? There's a lot of games that are coming out this fall. And one of the ones I want to get here as well is this top part with Alex, or the first part of his comment that he talks about. That's the one that is probably the game that I am the most looking forward to. It's part of the new series that I got into this year and really enjoying it. He said that he's looking at the list of fall games, and he said the one he's most looking forward to is Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero, because as someone who's played Trails from Cold Steel 1 and 2, he's planned on making the entry to Crossbell through this game. He's super pumped about playing it and filling in his Legend of Heroes knowledge. And on top of Marvel's Midnight Suns and Gotham Knights, he adds One Piece Odyssey as well, which I'm not a One Piece fan, but I respect One Piece and what it is. And so I'm sure that'll be a lot of fun for folks who are really into that series and into that manga and enjoying it as well. But man, these Trails games, dude, I'm telling you, super good. I can't wait for Trails from Zero. I don't know if I've talked about it on the here or wherever, but I've talked about it enough on YouTube. I'm very much looking forward to it, because what's weird about this series is there's 3 different arcs that you can get into story-wise. You got your Trails in the Sky games, then you got these Trails from Zero games, which is called the Crossbell duology, and then you have the Cold Steel games. Cold Steel stuff came out here in the States first, so they're kind of working backwards in terms of the story stuff and filling in all these gaps that a lot of people have gotten from the Cold Steel games. But I started off right with the Sky. Not to shame people who only play Cold Steel. It's not what I'm trying to do. But like, I started off at the beginning, so to speak, with the Sky game. So I'm looking forward. I'm waiting for September. I'm not going to jump into Cold Steel until I finish these 2 Crossbell games. And man, I can't wait. I can't wait. So Alex, I'm right there with you, man. We're in. It's just a good year for JRPGs as a whole.
It is. It is, man. I was thinking, kind of growing up into my 20s and stuff, I was like, yeah, I like JRPGs, but dude, I don't play near the JRPGs that you and some of the guys in the community
Yeah.
do. No way. Like, I'm still over here trying to get to Final Fantasy 9, like one of the most popular series ever. So I've got some ways to catch up.
Well, as long as you don't do what I did a couple of years ago and you try to play all the Final Fantasy games in the span of 3 months, because that'll burn you out super fast. You're taking the slow and steady approach, which is just the right way to do it. But yeah, man, I'm excited for that too, Alex. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the community that are excited for that as well. But another one that I think you and I both are excited for, man, and this is going to be on all the platforms with the exception of Switch, of course, is the Resident Evil expansion, the Winters expansion, where you're going to play as Ethan Winters' daughter and kind of maybe discover her powers a little bit and see what's going on there and see where the story goes.
Yeah, always down for more Resident Evil. Village was a fun romp. Not my favorite Resident Evil ever, but it was a good time. So yeah, always down for more DLC. I think they have like a third person mode that they're adding to the DLC, which might be interesting and make it feel more like a Resident Evil 4 perhaps, or something like that. Speaking of Resident Evil 4 remake, that's not in fall. Can't go there yet. But anyway,
so yeah, I wish it was coming pretty quick, but
yeah, no. Again, we got plenty here. We got plenty here in the fall. So yeah, the DLC will be very nice. I just gotta find time to squeeze this stuff in. Yeah, I'm looking at talking about all these games now. I'm gonna play Stray when that comes out next week. I'm probably gonna play The Last of Us. I'm probably gonna play Plague Tale, and I'm like. And then God of War is like, that's it. Like I'm full.
Yeah, no doubt, man. It's that season, man. And every time the fall hits, it's just like cowabunga mode it is. And it's just going to be nuts. There's going to be plenty of stuff to play. Some of it might be disappointing, but at least the nice thing is there's always something else to bounce or fall back onto, which is reminding me of Fall Guys now, which is something that me and my wife played all day today. So anyway, as we kind of look at the fall lineup, there are some games I noticed didn't have dates that I thought were still coming out. And I've listed a few here. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga Collection, I noticed still doesn't have a date. Bayonetta 3, Multiverses, which is the Warner Brothers fighter game with Shaggy fighting Batman, Harley Quinn fighting Jake the dog from Adventure Time, I think is what his name is, Hogwarts Legacy. I Am Jesus Christ, which is not me saying that I am Jesus Christ. It's that game that looks super questionable, and there's an interview of it up on our website if anybody wants to go check that out. But yeah, I was mainly put that in there for just jokes and to kind of see if people are listening to the podcast. But do we think we're gonna see dates for some of these games that we're looking for, especially Hogwarts Legacy? I'm hoping that was not pushed back.
No, I'd be shocked if Hogwarts Legacy hit 2022, honestly.
Really?
I can't remember what they said exactly. That's just one of those games that reeks. It's got another delay coming. It just does. I hope not, because I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I think, did they say like winter or December or something like that?
I want to say it said it's either winter or holiday. It's one of those.
It was holiday. They said holiday is what it was. Yeah. I remember now. So yeah, that's real nebulous. And they only said that, I think it was back in May when they said that. So you would think that they would know. So that's why I'm kind of apprehensive about that one. So I think that one might slip to 2023 actually. And one of the ones that you mentioned on the list here that might actually come out, it just came out as news today because it was rated by the ESRB, is Bayonetta 3. Might be a little bit closer than we think, even though it doesn't have a date. So Bayonetta might actually come out. Nintendo will probably have that at their next showcase, and I bet they'll give it a date. It might be January, but I would bet December. I bet they're going to shoot for December for Bayonetta 3 if I had to guess.
I mean, I think that would be a good time. Get it out right around the holidays. Boom. Everybody's going to be picking it up, perfect timing. So yeah, it's, I'm still waiting. What's funny, we talked about this a little bit with Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge. the Cowabunga collection I noticed didn't have a date, and I was like, I'm okay with that. Like, because Shredder's Revenge you kind of talked about this a little bit. It kind of took the wind out of its sails a little bit because I just
straight up
as good as it is.
I was watching a trailer for it today for the Cowabunga collection. They were going into showing like Bebop and Rocksteady across all the different games, and I'm like, do I want to get this? Again, Shredder's Revenge just spoiled the heck out of us. It was so good. We cannot stress that enough. Shredder's Revenge is excellent if you haven't played it yet. I can't see how Cowabunga collection is going to hit that other than just kind of the nostalgia feels,
Yeah, man. Yep. We will definitely see. So it'll be interesting to kind of see if any of these games get dates or anything like that. Before we switch into, we kind of touched on some of these games that we think will perform well or do poor, and we'll kind of end on there. But one thing I do want to write into, because Jeff Jackson Jr., you can always count on Jeff Jackson Jr. words are hard, to cover the tabletop front of things. And he's talking about some of the things that he's looking forward to, or quite a few board games that will have Gen Con and Essen, I don't know how to pronounce that, releases later this year, such as the Great Western Trail Argentina, Puerto Rico 1897, Exit Advent Calendar, The Mystery of the Ice Cave, and Don't Llama Dice. So I looked at some of these games earlier today. It sounds like Great Western Trail in Puerto Rico, I need like other games to enjoy. I think Puerto Rico 1897 is a remake of a classic tabletop game, but this Exit Advent Calendar is like you're escaping from this ice cave. And you play it as an advent calendar. I'm like, that sounds
That's
so
the one I went
cool.
to and started looking at first. I was like, dude, this advent calendar looks pretty good.
Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, right? I like going to the church. We do our Advent stuff, our prayer and scripture readings throughout the month. But dude, if I can play a tabletop game where I'm trying to escape from an ice cavern throughout the month of December, let's go. That sounds awesome, man.
Sorry. If in our rambling, we haven't said it. It's called Exit the Game. Advent Calendar is the name of it. So yeah, this looks pretty cool.
I love it. Don't Llama Dice look like something I don't know if I'd necessarily be into. It kind of reminds me of like Exploding Kittens a little bit, which is still a fun game, but maybe not my style. But the other two the other three I'm definitely interested in for sure. My wife and I actually just picked up the What Do You Meme game. We got the one that was like mostly clean. There's a few like kind of questionable pictures in there for the memes, but picked that up and with the SpongeBob expansion to play with my parents. But my parents they're so old they don't understand memes, so they're like, what's the point of this game? None of this is funny. You guys are laughing. It's what it is. But yeah, so I mean, even if you're not super into video games, there's still plenty of like tabletop games to get into as well, and have some friends over, have some fun times with your small group or whatever it is, your youth group, or even at school. Really in the winter after we get done with finals and stuff like that, it's like, I'm not teaching anything, so we're either going to watch Mythbusters for a week or we're going to play some board games. So
there you go. It's
always a good time. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. Now, as we kind of round this out, I don't really want to end on a sour note, but I don't want to end on a sour note. I'm going to skip this. Which games do we think will perform well or poor? Because I don't really want to do that. I mentioned earlier, Gotham Knights hasn't really impressed me a whole lot, but I really hope it does good, because I would love another Batman game where you play as the different members of the Bat family and go through that. So I don't want to end on a sour note. Is there anything that we want to kind of touch on though before we kind of close out this episode, Micah?
No, I don't think so. Maybe just real quick, one small game briefly touched on. I think a couple of people maybe said that they were excited about it. It's not technically fall. It's coming out early December, but the Callisto Protocol, you kind of already passed on it. I mentioned it. From the original creator of Dead Space. That game looks fantastic. So yeah, I just wanted to give that game a shout out.
Yeah, man. Right on. Well, dear listeners, there are lots of games coming out here, especially the week that this episode releases, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I will be, trust me, my Discord will show that I'm offline, but I will be playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3 a ton. So who knows, that might be the game that I review for YouTube at the end of July or in the beginning of August. So with that being said, if there's any games that you're excited for and you want to talk about them, hit us up in the Discord server, Twitter, Facebook, all those places that TRG exists. And let's kind of share in that excitement together. Now, as we close out this episode, I mean, it wouldn't be a TRG episode without some Recos, right? So, some Recos. Micah, what should our dear listeners check out this week?
Yeah, I'm continuing in the vein of recommending some smaller, lesser known kind of indie titles. This is a newer title and one that I discovered via Xbox Game Pass. I don't think it's on Game Pass anymore, but it was there for a while, about a year ago or so. And it's called Descenders. It is a mountain bike downhill racing game.
Okay,
Not
yeah.
racing. Like stunts and ramps and stuff.
Yeah.
There's various kind of objectives you have to do. Sometimes it is kind of like you got to get down the hill fast. This game was it's like that, snow truck runner or like farming simulator or something. It is so far out of my purview. I was like, I've got Game Pass. Let me try this game that's so far, beyond anything I would ever want to try. I would ever buy. Mm-hmm. They start you off in like it's like a skate park, but for bikes, like a bunch of ramps and just like pieces you can get on and hills and stuff, and you kind of get your feet wet playing around in this area, and then you slowly unlock these 4 kind of biomes where you have procedurally generated courses with different objectives. And the physics of kind of doing spins and flips and all sorts of things is really, really fun. And this game is a bit of a success story because of Game Pass. I think this is one of the studios that that fans like to kind of point to as like, hey, Game Pass really propelled this game to further greater heights on actual sales on other platforms and things like that. So I wanted to kind of point this game out. It's probably $20. It's on everything. It's on PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, PC. But yeah, it's called Descenders. A lot of fun with that game.
It's funny. I had meant to play this game back when it came out, and I just never got around to it. But you bringing it up now, and I'm even looking now, it's still on Game Pass. I see the button here for me to go ahead and download it.
I thought it had gone off, but okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm seeing it right there. You can buy it for $25, either one. I needed to just make it happen and give this game a go. I've always enjoyed these kind of extreme sports kind of games. They're just fun. They're a good break from what I'm normally playing. I remember putting a ton of time into, what was it called? It was like it was an ATV cross motocross or something like that.
Okay.
On Xbox, like that, and Pure was another one where it was like ATV racing. So I always like these. I need to get into this and just see how I like it, because it looks really good.
Play around with it for an hour. You'll get a feel for it, and it is one of those that there's a bit of a learning curve, but play with it for an hour and you'll kind of know, like, yeah, I'm kind of digging this or not. Yeah,
I'll definitely check that out for sure. Well, as far as my recos go, I have been getting back into anime. It's one of my hobbies. It's when I used to watch a ton of anime in high school and college, and then just kind of fell off that for a while there. But now I'm getting back into it. And this show, look, if you watch anime, you probably are already watching this, or you at least have heard of it. But man, Spy Family or Spy X Family, I don't know if that's the exact one, has got to be one of my favorite watches of this season. Me and my wife have watched it together, and it's just been a load of fun. The premise is the spy has to get close to this diplomat who is kind of key to maintaining peace within the region. If he doesn't accomplish his mission, then there's going to be this all-out war. It's going to be crazy. And so the spy has to basically put together a fake family, enroll his fake child into this school to get close to this diplomat's son so they can become friends and kind of learn stuff from him and help maintain peace. It sounds intense, but it is one of the most goofy, most charming, most hilarious shows that you could watch. Super wholesome too, despite what you may think. It's a show about a spy forming a fake family and fake marrying a woman who's an assassin at night. But it is, like I said, it's so charming. My wife doesn't really watch anime, but she loved this show. She was actually looking up on Etsy if there was any like memorabilia she could buy, like a coffee mug or something, because she just loves the little girl Anya so much. She's so funny. And so if you're looking for something kind of wholesome to watch, something that you could probably watch with your spouse or just kind of have a feel good moment, Spy Family is where it's at. They just ended part 1 of the first season. Part 2 is going to air in October. So you have plenty of time really to get caught up, but it's really good. I was surprised by it.
I've got it pulled up right now, looking at some of the images and stuff, and it's anime, but I mean the particular art style, within the genre, I like a lot. I'm digging what I'm seeing here as far as the look of it and the art, and this looks good.
Yeah. So if you got Crunchyroll, it's on there. Plus the opening theme song and the closing one, they're vibes, man. As my wife says, she calls them vibes. I just said they're awesome. They sound great, but yeah, it's really good. So Spy Family is my reco there. But with that being said, thank you for checking out this episode of The Reformed Gamers. Hey, if you like this episode and you're watching on YouTube or you're listening to it on a podcast app, leave a rating and review for it. But if you want to go a step further and support the show, you can go over to patreon.com and get our episodes early and uncut. You can get behind the scenes and more. So go over to Patreon and check that out if you want to continue. If you want to support the show a little bit extra. You can also connect with us on a variety of platforms: Discord, Facebook group, Twitter, YouTube, all the stuff. All the links will be in your show notes. Definitely go check that stuff out and chat with us over there. And just enjoy that stuff. We put out extra content for y'all. We have a community for you to get plugged into, so definitely don't miss out on that. So if you have any games that you're looking forward to this fall, hop into the Discord, have a chat with some folks. Or if you're excited for some anime, check it out there. Or, as I've come to find out, because there's a lot of dads in the Discord server, right? They all really like this show called Bluey. And to be honest, I don't have kids, but I checked it out because I was like, you know what? I got to see if this is okay for my future adopted child to watch. And man, watching that show in Spanish is a good time. I'm just going to say it. So I'm a Bluey fan. I won't be afraid to admit it.
Bluey is so good. So
do you know
it's just such a great, I've got 3 kids, they're a little bit older now, older than Bluey, but man, Bluey is some good stuff. Yeah.
There you go, man. There you go. It's a good time. So if you want to talk about Bluey, hop over to the Discord server. But with that being said, dear listeners, thank you for checking out this episode. And until next time, be a dear, keep it locked here, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you again for listening to this episode of The Reformed Gamers. If you support us over on patreon.com at the $15 tier and above, you get shouted out at the end of every episode of the podcast. Much like these people over here who continue to support us at the $15 tier or above. And those people are Wesley Ray, Mr. Butts, David Matthews, and Richard Marroquin. Y'all, thank you so much for supporting us over on patreon.com. If you want to support Christian gaming content, head on over to patreon.com/reformgamers and consider lending your support to the show. It helps us keep doing what we do here at the Reformed Gamers and continuing to provide you with Christian content that doesn't suck. That's a real review we got. Again, thank you for listening to this episode, and until next time, be a dear, keep it locked here. We'll see you in the next episode.